Hello, love, asterisk. Thinking about how Lawrence's friends were probably all influential and impeccably dressed, Aurora Shen couldn't help feeling anxious about her own outfit. Are you sure? I don't need to go home and change first, sir, or at least touch up my makeup. No, Lawrence replied curtly, decisively. But my coat is from Zara. My dress is Calliope. The entire outfit isn't even €50. Lawrence chuckled, tore his gaze from his email, and shot her a look full of meaning. You want to wear that black evening gown from last season again, Aurora? Her lips immediately drooped. Sir, that's the most expensive dress I've ever bought. Don't worry about that, Ivy, he said. Trust me soon. You'll be able to buy plenty of expensive dresses. Okay. She had expected Lawrence to say something like, You don't need those dresses, Ivy. You're beautiful no matter what you wear. Weren't Italian men supposed to be born with the talent for saying sweet things? Aurora tilted her head, studying Lawrence again, wondering if besides his Italian and Chinese blood he might have some other ancestry mixed in. Lawrence noticed her stare. What is it, sir? Do you have any other heritage? For Europeans who valued privacy, the question was a bit abrupt, yet Lawrence didn't mind at all. Still responding to emails, he answered casually, My father is half German, and my grandmother was Danish. No wonder. He didn't have the typical traits of an Italian man's sun-kissed skin. No thick beard, no compact frame. If anything, he looked more like a classic German. A pity he didn't inherit the romantic charm Italian men were supposedly famous for. Why do you ask? Aurora propped her chin on her hand, staring out the window. Explains why you don't know how to say sweet things. Oh, all the Italian men you've met were that charming? Aurora nodded lightly. Yes, since I was little, I've never heard anyone flirt as beautifully as they do. Lawrence continued typing, voice steady. They weren't romantic. They were unfaithful. Men say sweet things only because they want to get women into bed, Ivy. Oh, she hesitated. So you don't want to? She swallowed the rest of the sentence, suddenly remembering that the man beside her was not a classmate or friend, but her boss. How rude. Lawrence's fingers paused. He shut his laptop with a soft click, turned his head toward her. What were you going to say? His tone was gentle as if coaxing a child who had spoken out of turn. Aurora stayed silent. Lawrence chuckled. If I had to choose, I'd rather go to bed with money. Asterisk. Before they left, Aurora had asked whether the dinner would be too fancy. He'd simply said, relax. Just a casual gathering with friends, not a formal event. But the moment they stepped inside polished marble floors, Roman columns studded with crystals, glass cases of jewelry lining the hall, oil paintings on the walls, Aurora realized just how vast the gap in perception between her and Lawrence was. A casual gathering. Then, what were the fast food places she frequented with her friends supposed to be? Charity soup kitchens. Their table was set beside a fountain. Water trickled softly, reflecting lush greenery. The air smelled of flowers, snow-white tablecloths, silver cutlery, gleaming. It was a 4-person table. Aurora had to sit beside Lawrence. And right then, his friends arrived late, of course. Typical. Being late was practically imprinted in the Italian genome. But when Aurora saw the young man walking behind the middle-aged man, tall, black curls neatly styled, sharp green eyes, she nearly jumped to her feet. Of all people, she never imagined she would meet him again. Especially not like this. He wore a simple beige sweater, light coffee-colored linen trousers, a silver pendant resting on his collarbone. Arrogant air, wild beauty flickering in his gaze. The moment he saw Aurora sitting beside Lawrence, he froze. Aurora instantly turned away, lowering her head. But that fleeting reaction did not escape Lawrence. Finally, you agreed to meet me, Lawrence. I've waited 3 months for this dinner. Lawrence paid the greeting little mind. He merely gave the young man a cold glance, shook hands with the older man, exchanged polite words, graciously ignoring the fact that the young man had declined all previous invitations. After all, no one really dared blame Lawrence for canceling anything. The middle-aged man took the seat across from Lawrence, and the black-haired young man sat across from Aurora. And this is the man with the cigar, looked at Aurora with surprise and even a bit of delight. Had Lawrence finally opened his mind? But Lawrence's next sentence shattered that assumption. He smiled. Aurora Shen, my assistant. What surprised Aurora more was that Lawrence used Mandarin when introducing her fluent, natural, like a native speaker. How did he know her full Chinese name? Ah, she remembered. She had signed the contract using Chinese characters. The middle-aged man scrambled to greet her in Mandarin. Shen a lu o. La, very nice to meet you. Hearing how difficult it was for him, Aurora stood up and extended her hand politely. You may call me Teng, it's a pleasure to meet you. He shook her hand, then turned to the young man beside him. This is my son, Zen. Aurora kept her professional smile and reached out. Hello, I'm Tang. Zen lounged back in his chair, elbow hooked lazily over the backrest, sharp green eyes gleaming like a serpent's. His lips curled mockingly. He stared at her yet didn't lift his hand. The air turned awkward immediately. Aurora's smile stiffened. She hadn't expected him to be this rude. A moment later, Zen finally raised his hand, dragging his fingertips across her palm, before suddenly clasping her hand tightly, interlacing their fingers. Ciao amor, hello, love. His father was so shocked, the cigar fell from his hand. What did you just say, Zen? Are you insane? He nearly roared. Zen only smirked wider. What? Forgotten me already, Ivy? He drew out her name, tone dripping with insinuation, practically announcing their past for the entire table to hear. Aurora's face turned cold. She tried to pull her hand back, but he held on tightly. She was about to snap at him when she noticed Lawrence rise from his seat. A moment later, his warm hand wrapped around her wrist, gently but firmly pulling her back toward him. Aurora looked up. Lawrence towered over her. His expression wasn't dark, it was beyond dark. He rarely frowned, but when he did, his presence became suffocating. Mr. Wilson, he said, voice sharp as a blade, I need an explanation. Lawrence didn't spare Zen a single glance. His gaze pinned the father like a nail. Wilson's face collapsed instantly. He whipped around and barked at his son. What the hell do you think you're doing? The word fucking rang loudly in the elegant hall, drawing attention from nearby tables. Zen remained unfazed. His gaze stayed locked on Aurora, asked her. Ask what she did to make me lose my mind. Wilson sagged into his chair, drained. He looked at Lawrence, then at Aurora. She didn't want to discuss a private incident from half a year ago at a luxurious dinner table. That matter was over nothing worth revisiting. Lawrence seemed to read her thoughts. He placed a hand on her shoulder, gently motioning for her to sit. Let me state what I originally wasn't sure about. His voice was calm, serene. Even Wilson straightened at once, tense as a wire. Given the current state of the project, Lawrence continued, I've decided to withdraw my investment completely. I'll sign the termination contract tomorrow. Wilson turned pale, jumping out of his seat. No, Lawrence, listen to me. We still have time to adjust. The losses are only temporary. His voice rose so loud that several diners glanced over. Of the 4 people at the table, Aurora was the only one who wanted to sink into the ground from embarrassment. She wanted nothing more than to hide behind Lawrence's back. Ivy, Lawrence bent toward her, voice low. Do you want to continue this dinner? Aurora froze. She didn't know what the right answer was. Normally, she should say no to give Lawrence an excuse to leave. But what if he didn't intend to? Perhaps, sensing her confusion, Lawrence smiled faintly. Don't worry, just follow your preference. She hesitated, then nodded softly. This was a royal-level dinner costing €750 per person. She would never dream of affording it in her lifetime if not for Lawrence. And, as her grandparents always said, when food is already at your lips. All right. Lawrence slowly unbuttoned his vest and sat down again. He lifted a hand to the server. You may serve the dishes now, thank you. Then he turned to Wilson, lips curling into a polite, yet icy smile. You're fortunate, Mr. Wilson. Since Ms. Shen wishes to stay, I will give you another chance to explain. Wilson understood instantly. He bowed his head. Ms. Shen, Thank you. Aurora also prepared to stand and respond when suddenly, a hand beneath the table rose and pressed gently onto her thigh. The heat of that touch seeped through the thin fabric, shooting straight into her skin. She jolted, eyes snapping toward the culprit. The man in question was still smiling at Wilson, but his gray-blue eyes were as cold as midnight seas. "And one more thing," Lawrence said lazily. Zen curled his lips, finishing the sentence for him. "The young master beside you also owes Ms. Shen an apology."